Are we on? We are. Oh, there you are. Hi. Hi, everybody. Meteorologist Joe Rayo from the home base here in Putnam Valley on a rather dreary looking Tuesday. Cloud filled skies and also a few showers scattered about the region. And this is a short fused, which means it's generally speaking a short weather update for you for the next few days coming up. We'll start with the rest of this day. Rather dreary out there, as I said, and we're going to continue to remain in kind of a damp weather pattern into overnight tonight. In fact, what we're looking at tonight is just clouds and occasional light shower activity and patchy fog. The one thing about tonight, though, temperature-wise, it's been amazing the last couple of nights how mild it's been. Normally, in the lower Hudson Valley at this time of the year, we can expect temperatures to be, I'd say somewhere around 23 to 28. That's typical for this time of the year for a low temperature in late February. And yet, look at what we're talking about tonight, 36 to 42 degrees. That's our low temperature, if you can call that low, for overnight tonight. Now, tomorrow, another rather dreary looking day, lots of clouds. I'm mentioning the possibility for a spot shower, just for the heck of it. But you know what? It would not be surprising at all if we went through the entire day tomorrow with dry weather. Just lots of clouds, again, maybe a spotty shower here and there, but most, if not all of the time tomorrow, it should be dry. Temperatures tomorrow, I'll call it seasonable, near normal. This time of the year, lower Hudson Valley, 44 or thereabouts is the high temperature. We might be a degree or two higher than that in many spots. But again, it does not look like an incredible day. Again, it's near seasonable or seasonably mild, dry, lots of cloud cover. Now, we do have a sharp weather front coming our way and is expected to slide through the tri-state area first thing in the morning on Thursday. So as that front approaches Wednesday night, expect a breakout of widely scattered showers. After midnight, however, and on toward daybreak Thursday morning, the shower activity is going to become steadier, heavier, more intense, more robust. And don't be surprised if you are awakened Thursday morning by a rumble or two, or a peal, or a crack of thunder, or maybe even see a few flashes of lightning. That's not out of the question because, again, this is a very sharp weather front that's going to be moving into and through our area during the early morning hours of Thursday. How much precipitation we will be getting out of all this? I'd say from now till Thursday morning, anywhere from a half to 3/4 of an inch, maybe perhaps close to an inch in some places. Again, it'll be dependent on whether or not we get any convection, any thundery weather involved with this. But all of this will be happening toward Thursday morning, as many of you are maybe aroused from your sleep, getting ready to get up and head out the door to work and school. Another thing to watch out for will be the winds. With the approach of this weather front on Thursday morning, winds are going to be picking up out of a southerly and then eventually south-southwesterly direction, freshening up 15, 20, maybe even gusting close to 30 miles an hour before daybreak on Thursday. And then during Thursday, as that front whips on through our area, a few things are going to happen. Number one, the front will act like a gigantic atmospheric squeegee. It'll squeeze out the residual moisture and pretty much put an end to the precipitation. I do believe that while we may see a few lingering showers early Thursday morning, maybe en route to your job or heading out toward school, by about 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, pretty much it should all be done. The heaviest and worst of the heavy rain, or moderate to heavy rain, will come in the pre-dawn hours of Thursday. That's number one. Number two, winds will be gusting out of a west and southwest direction during the day on Thursday, and that's actually going to drive in a chillier or colder air mass. Temperatures on Thursday may start off, the day may start off somewhere in the mid 40s to lower 50s, rather mild, but then as we move into the midday and afternoon, the temperatures will start to drop back through the 40s, maybe even finish out the day in the 30s. As far as any lingering precipitation, it's not out of the question, I think, that we could see a leftover shower Thursday afternoon because of all of the wind and instability. It might even be cold enough by Thursday afternoon for a flurry or a snow shower in 1 or 2 spots. We'll see. We'll see how this all breaks down and plays out. But Thursday looks to be a somewhat active day in terms of both wind and in terms of precipitation. Most of the precip coming before daybreak again on Thursday. After that, it really cools down. Friday, 30s to around 40 with maybe more clouds and sun. Then a blend or mix of cloud and sun, 30s on Saturday, and 30s with more in the way of sunshine on Sunday. So some Friday through Sunday, we'll see a gradual increase in sunshine and a decrease in the cloud cover, but it will still be rather breezy. Just downright windy on Thursday, and then still rather breezy, sustained winds of 15 and 18 miles an hour or thereabouts from the west, and eventually west northwest, and then northwest as we move through Friday and on into the weekend. Leap day, an extra day in the calendar every 4 years, and that happens on Saturday, and then Sunday, the first day of March. And as I mentioned with Joe Ciappi on Joe and Joe a few days ago, and as I just mentioned on Facebook, on my Facebook page, whenever we start off the month on a Sunday, that inevitably leads to a Friday the 13th, and we will have that in March. Clock is running, though, for you snow lovers, isn't it? Doesn't really seem that we're going to be looking at much in the way of protracted or prolonged cold or the threat of any kind of snowy weather for the first week or 10 days of March. Things may begin to change later in March. Maybe we'll have to wait and see. And I still have this gut feeling, for some strange reason, that we might actually have a bit of snow to finish out March or maybe even start off April. This might actually be what I've been saying, a bookended winter, where we had a significant snowfall. If you remember, on the 1st of December, some of you, like my friend up in Albany, Tim Beltman, had 22 inches. We here in the tri-state area had something on the order of 4 to 12 inches, depending upon where you were. The 12 mostly over Orange County, the 4 inches here in Putnam and other spots like Long Island and New York had hardly anything since that time. And whether or not we see the winter finish out with any kind of significant snow or cold at the end of March or the beginning of April, that is yet to be seen. You're watching me right now on Joe Rayo Weather on my YouTube channel. If you've not already subscribed to this channel, you're certainly welcome to do so. It doesn't cost anything, and it certainly will help me as I try to push slowly but surely toward 1,000 subscribers. We've got about 635 of you now. We're trying to get another about 365 more so we can reach the magic number 1,000, hopefully in the days to come, days or weeks to come. Let's check out the chat board here and see who's on this rather dreary, gloomy-looking Tuesday. We have James saying hi, Danny. Danny Nunkamar, who joins me after watching me on my Facebook page a few moments ago. Same for Tim Beltman. Same for David Schwartz. Dennis Cassia, my old buddy in Connecticut. How are you, Dennis? Let's see, who else? We have Danilo Evangelista. How are you? Timothy Veltman wants to mention that high wind watches are now in effect for the Berkshires, Taconic, and Green Mountains. Winter storm watches for Green and Adirondack Mountains, and also for New Hampshire and Maine. That's for that very sharp weather front coming through early Thursday morning, plus the storm system that's attached to it. That system will wreak havoc to some degree further up to the north of us, up in upstate New York and in portions of central and northern New England. Matt Coletta says, Joe, I have a suggestion. Remember, the guy would come on with a farm report. Can you guys have a garden weather update as to when to plant? That's pretty interesting. You know who I should bring down into this discussion is my wife. She has a real green thumb, and she is very big into gardening and taking care of the grounds here at Rancho Rayo. Maybe I could bounce some questions, or you could bounce some questions off of her, and she may have something to say about that. I'll ask her. I'll see whether or not I can induce her to come on down, and we could do kind of like a farm or gardening segment here on Joe Rayo Weather on YouTube in the days to come. Thanks for the suggestion, Matt. Tim Veltman says he likes that idea too. It's not a set date every year when you're safe to plant. Some years we have something known as a legend known as the Three Chilly Saints that come up in early May. Sometimes in some years it stays exceptionally chilly, and you're apt not to do any major planting until after the end of the Three Chilly Saints feast day. I think that's on the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th of May. I'll have to check my almanac and see about that. But anyway, Matt coming back with last year, I lost almost all my veggies. Cold came in. I need to know 2 or 3 weeks out. Can it be done? We'll see. Tim Voltman says one thing for sure, it's been pretty lean in the snow department since that 22 inches that he had up in the Albany area in December. That was half of our snow that we have gotten so far. And that's pretty much the same thing down here, Tim. As I mentioned, we had about, I think at Central Park had like 4 inches. And so far, the whole winter season, the rest of the winter season, we've had less than an inch. We've had 4.8 inches at Central Park. And this is looking more and more like it's going to be the fifth winter, the 5th February in 150 years of record keeping, where this February will end up with just a mere trace of snow. Maybe we'll try to improve upon that in March. Donna Levasseur says, hello, Joe, on this dark, wet day. Hello to you, Donna. And Lynn McKee says hi as well. David Schwartz says, Mother's Day is usually a good weekend to start planting tender veggies. Stuff like the lettuce can go in the ground much earlier. Well, we can see. Michael Lazaro says, April 3rd, 1915 was a real big last season snow. Philadelphia had 19 inches. And you know how much Philadelphia's had so far this winter season? Maybe as much as a third of an inch. I think it's the second lowest snow amount that they've ever had to date in Philadelphia. It's been amazing. So you think New York City has been seeing, not much in terms of snowfall. Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, has had much less than that. Matt Coletta says another Yankee injury. It's going to be a Met town. Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say that just yet. I am a big Met fan, but I'm also one who has suffered. It always seems like a key Met always comes in with an injury, and Lord knows I don't want that to happen. Let's say to Alonso, for example. That would be terrible. I do remember in 1972 the Mets got Rusty Staub, and Rusty had rarely ever been injured. As soon as the Mets got him, like 30 games into the 72 season, he broke the hamate bone in his hand, and was pretty well out for much of the rest of the 72 season. If you're a Met fan, you know what I'm talking about. You're an eternal fatalist. And as bad as it's looking now for the Yankees, Met fans don't gloat. Don't do that because, God does not like ugly. And you never know. With the Mets, it could happen just as it's happening right now to the Yanks. We'll see. Keith James says, good afternoon from Paramus, New Jersey. And let's see, what else? Donna says, yay, Joe Rayo is on the light side. Well, I guess, Donna, you're a Met fan, right? Yeah, I've been a Met fan since 1962. You want to see how much of a Met fan I am? Hold on for a second. I'm sorry to say that this picture, the frame fell and the glass cracked, and I haven't gotten a chance to replace it yet. Donna, you want to see how much of a Met fan I am? Take a look at this picture. Are you ready? Take a look. How do you like them apples, folks? Again, I have to get a new piece of glass because the glass cracked. But there you go. A good old Shea back in probably the last year, I think, 2008 or 2009. On my birthday, I was graced with that display on the big scoreboard out at Shea Stadium. I have been a Met fan for a very long time, and I have seen some really, incredible Met games. I was at the Met game in '69, my first World Series. My two uncles, my Uncle Don, my Uncle Ed, and my Uncle Larry took me to my first World Series game, Game 4. That was the game where Swoboda made that incredible catch. And it was also the game where J.C. Martin drove in the winning run. When he bunted, he ran actually out of the baseline. Pete Rickard threw the ball, hit Martin, the ball caromed out into right field, and Rod Gasper scored the winning run. The only World Series victory for Tom Seaver. Many people thought that Tom Seaver would win many World Series games. That was his one and only World Series victory. And many years later, when Ron Swoboda was working at Channel 2 here in New York, and I used to head on down to Channel 2. I did a little interning down there in the mid-'70s. Ron Swoboda was the sportscaster on Channel 2 back then. I brought the ticket stub from that game, and he signed the back of the ticket stub. I had it all the way, Ron Swoboda. I was at that game. I was at the the Grand Slam single game with Robin Ventura. I was at the game where the ball went through Bill Buckner's legs. Would you believe I was at that game? I stayed there, even though people were fleeing in the bottom of the 10th inning with the game 5-3, and the Mets down to their final out. I stayed with my wife through the end of the game and saw that incredible that incredible finish with the ball going through Buckner's legs on that ground ball by Mookie Wilson. So I've seen quite a few interesting and memorable Met games, and I've been a Met fan, as I said, a lifelong Met fan, going all the way back to 1962. Keith James, let's go Mets. David Schwartz, let's go Yankees. We shall see what we will see for this upcoming baseball season. Hi, Joe. Enjoyed your posts from David Carter yesterday about the cold wave from 5 years ago, falling to minus 10 degrees in Danbury. Yeah, here at Rancho Rayo in Putnam Valley, 9 below zero. I remember that day well, 5 years ago yesterday, and haven't seen anything remotely resembling that in terms of cold weather since. And 5 years later, like yesterday, is incredibly warm. Matt says, my big moments in baseball, I got a home run against George Stone. Bob Apodaca, Neil Allen. Interesting. I have upstairs, it's in my daughter's room, what we call there was a Met pitcher. Oh dear, it just popped out of my head now. It was a game against the Cubs, and the batter and the pitcher had the same last name, Zencano or Ventano or whatever. Anyway, it was a ball that was hit by a New York Met, and it was the one and only foul ball that we ever got. Actually, it landed, it bounced off the seat next to my daughter. Some guy grabbed it. My daughter got hold of it, and she ended up getting the foul ball, and it's up in her room right now. Dennis Cassia says he was there in 1969. I guess that was that Game 4 that I had mentioned, and met a lot of the players. Donna Lavasura said she went to the Met Fan Fest and met a lot of players there. It'll be interesting to see how things are. Keith James wants to know, I take my telescope out last Saturday with those clear skies. I did step outside with my binoculars. I have 7x35 wide-angle binoculars, but I got to tell you something, Keith. I've gotten to that point in my life now where if it's anything below 30 degrees or 25 degrees, I used to go outside. I must tell you, when I was living in the Bronx and just was a budding young amateur astronomer, I used to go out in truly frigid weather. The cold didn't bother me. But these days, just the thought of like dragging out my 10-inch Dobsonian telescope in sub-freezing temperatures and staying out there, I didn't care for that too much. I did my observing on the weekend outside, both with the naked eye and with binoculars. Maybe in the coming month, as it gets a bit warmer, I'll start bringing the scope out again. But and I've got a lot of stuff. I got my 10-inch telescope. I have 25 by 100 giant binoculars, and the smaller binoculars are 7x35s. So let's wait until the weather gets warmer, and then we'll be able to see things in a better light and in a warmer light, so to speak. Steve LaPont is now on, and he says, hi, Joe Rayo. And Tim Vidalman says, all that light pollution must be tough for stargazing down your way. It's even bad here in Albany. Well, Tim, let me tell you, I lived in Levittown for a good number of years, 15 years, Levittown, Long Island, Nassau County, and I knew it was time to go when I couldn't see all 7 stars in the Big Dipper. Migres, the faintest star, the one that joins the handle with the bowl, I couldn't see that most nights from Nassau County because of the light pollution. Now here, I'm sorry to say, it was fairly dark here, when I first moved up here about 18 years ago. But now, even up here, you're beginning to see the light pollution has really begun to creep in and become a factor, especially when you look south toward Lower Westchester and New York City. I used to come up in this area in the 60s when my Uncle Ron and my Aunt Irma lived in Mahopac or Mahopac. And back then, back in the 60s, I got to tell you, it was black up here. If you're into astronomy, My limiting magnitude up here back in the 60s and early 70s was like plus 6.8. I mean, it was dark in these neck of the woods. Not so today because of the light pollution, because of the increase in lighting every which way. Um, it's just a fraction as dark as it used to be. Still can see the Milky Way, especially during the summertime, at least part of it on some nights, but again, not as dark as it was way back when. Um, Steve is on, Matt and Tim. I said this is going to be a short fused update. You know what? This is already 20 plus minutes long, so I'm going to shut it down right now. Again, if you're not a subscriber to Joe Rayo Weather, tell your friends, tell everybody to come on out and subscribe. It doesn't cost anything here on YouTube. And again, Joe Chiaffi and I will be on with the Joe and Joe Show tonight at 7 o'clock this evening, with more to say about this nothing pattern and this nothing winter. Again, the most excitement we're going to see here over the next several days is that sharp weather front by daybreak on Thursday, which may bring us a burst of heavy rain, a rumble or two of thunder, rapid increase in the winds, and a fall in temperature later Thursday. And maybe, if we're lucky, if you're a snow lover, a cheap thrill, a couple of snowflakes before the day is over with. All right, that's it for now. We'll see you again tonight at 7. Thank you so much for those of you who have tuned in this afternoon, and we'll see you again tonight, and probably we'll be on tomorrow sometime here at YouTube and also on Facebook, Joe Rayo Weather. Have a good one, everybody, and we're ending the stream right now. You make it a great Tuesday.